Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Shri Radha Madhava ki jai. Hare Krishna. Oh, it's working. So we started to read from Prabhupada's book, Your Ever Well Wisher, Bhasa Swarupada Goswami. Keshava, the San Francisco Temple president, phoned his GBC supervisor and brother Karandhara in Los Angeles to tell him what had happened. It's like a miracle, Keshava exclaimed. Karandhara encouraged him to experiment further, and soon the San Francisco Temple had half a dozen men going from door to door, showing the books to people in their homes. When Buddhimanta began selling as many as 5 books in a day, the devotees in other temples, especially in LA, San Diego, and Denver, wanted to follow his example. And whoever tried it and sold a book became caught up in euphoric excitement. The experience and testimonies of devotees selling Srila Prabhupada's books described a special taste. Distinct from the happiness young men might ordinarily experience by stumbling upon a sales technique and finding themselves on the verge of making a lot of money. The difference is that the devotee's book distribution begin devotional service to Krishna, produced in an ecstasy that is transcendental, an ecstasy far beyond even the greatest material happiness. Ordinary businesses and the business of selling Krishna consciousness literature are the different, as material life is from spiritual life. And anyone observing spiritual life from the material point of view will not understand it. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati had compared such empirical attempts to understand the ecstasy of Krishna consciousness with attempts to taste honey by licking the outside of the bottle. The young men and women beginning to distribute books in America knew that Srila Prabhupada, by giving them Krishna consciousness, had saved them from the hellish life, and they wanted to help him give Krishna consciousness to others. And such preaching, by distributing his books, was exactly ecstasy, spiritual ecstasy. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. But it is this, I remember when, one point when devotees sometimes devotees try to distribute books, from bookshops. They gave Prabhupada's books to bookshops, and they just, nobody buy it. Just standing, that's it. But so the only way to distribute books, the main way to distribute books is to distribute by, when devotees gave book, because only devotee can give Krishna and Prabhupada to others. That's the point. No. So today we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 6. Verse text 44. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Cheva Narottamam Devim Sarasvatim Vyasam Tato Jaya Mudirayet. Nahi Bhagava Nagatitam Idam Nahi Bhagava Nagatitam Idam Tvadarshanam Nrinamakkhila Papa Tvadarshanam Nrinamakkhila Papa Kshayahyannama Sakrichravanata Kshayahyannama Sakrichravanata Pukashapi Vumuchyate Samsarat Pukashapi Vumuchyate Samsarat Nahi Bhagava Nagatitamidam Tvadarshanam Nrinamakkhila Papa Kshayahyannama Sakrichara Chravanata Pukashapi Vumuchyate Samsarat. Please. Nahi Bhagavan Agatitamidam Tvadarshanam Rinamakhila Papa Shayasyanama Sakrichravanat Pukashapi Vimuchyate Samsarat. Nahi Bhagavan Agatitamidam Tvadarshanam Nrinamakkhila Papa Kshayanyanama Sakrichravanat Pukashapi Vimuchyate Samsarat. Nahi Bhagavan Agatitamidam Tvadarshanam Drinam Akhila Papa Kshayanyanama Sakrichravanad Pokashapi Vimuchyate Samsara. Mataji Vrinda, would you like to? Nahi Bhagavan Nagachitamidam Tvadarshanam Drinam Akhila Papa Kshayanyanama Sakrichravanad Pokashapi Vimuchyate Samsarat. Nam, not he, indeed. Bhagavan, oh my Lord. Aghatitam, not occurred. Idam, this. Tvat, of you. Darshanat, by sin. Nrinam, of all human beings. Akhila, all. Papa, of sins. Kshayach, annihilation. Yatnama, whose name? Sakrit, only once. Shravanat, by hearing. Pukashach, the lowest class. The Chandala. Api, also. Vimuchyate, is delivered. Samsarat, from the entanglement of material existence. Translation. My Lord, it is not impossible for one to be immediately freed from all material contamination by seeing you. Not to speak of seeing you personally, merely by hearing the holy name of your Lordship only once, even Chandalas, men, or those of the lowest class, are freed from all material contamination. Under the circumstances, who will not be freed from material contamination simply by seeing you? Purport by His Divine Grace. Abhay Charanavrinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Ki. As stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam 9.5.16, Yannama Shrutimatrena Puman Bhavati Nirmalach. Simply by hearing the holy name of the Lord, one is immediately purified. Therefore, in this age of Kali, when all people are very contaminated, the chanting of the holy name of the Lord is recommended as the only means of improvement. Harer Nama, Harer Nama, Harer Nama eva kevalam, kalau nastyeva, nastyeva, nastyeva gatiranyatha. In this age of quarrel and hypocrisy, the only means of deliverance is the chanting of the holy name of the Lord. There is no other way. There is no other way. There is no other way. Brihannaradya Purana. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu introduced this chanting of the holy name 500 years ago. And now, through the Krishna consciousness movement, the Hare Krishna movement, we are actually seeing that men who are considered to belong to the lowest class are being delivered from all sinful activities simply by hearing the holy name of the Lord. Samsara, material existence, is a result of sinful actions. Everyone in this material world is condemned, yet as there are different grades of prisoners, there are different grades of men. All of them, in all statuses of life, are suffering. To stop the suffering of material existence, one must take to the Hare Krishna movement of Sankirtana, or Krishna consciousness life. Herein, it is said, Yanama Sakrit Shravanat. The holy name of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is so powerful that if once heard without offense, it can purify the lowest of men. Kirata Hunandhara Pulinda Pulakshah. Such men who are called Chandalas are less than Shudras, but they also can be purified simply by hearing the holy name of the Lord, not to speak of personally seeing the Lord. From our present position, the Supreme Personality of Godhead can be personally seen as the deity in the temple. The deity of the Lord is known different from the Supreme Lord, because we cannot see the Supreme Lord with our present blunt eyes. The Lord has kindly consented to come before us in the form we can see. Therefore, the deity in the temple should not be considered material. By offering food to the deity and by decorating and serving the deity, one gets the same result that one derives from serving the Lord personally in Vaikuntha. Om Magyana Timirandasya Ginanjana Shalakaya Chakshuran Militam Yana Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupah Kadamahyam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalan Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamshcham He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhana Sut Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha kalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Such a pleasure to see all of you this wonderful morning. Bhagavatam. Actually, this is my favorite story. I mean, my favorite canto of Bhagavatam, sixth canto. Just I like to discuss it with devotees. It's a wonderful story. Sixth canto of Bhagavatam, it's like middle, because Bhagavata Purana has like 12. Yeah, 12 quantas. So it's like middle of all the story. It's like a heart of Bhagavatam. And when other Puranas describe Bhagavatam, it describes like a Purana where is a story of Vritrasura. So actually, this like central story of Bhagavatam. And why is it? Because this is the only one story where we can see the whole way of living being, from conditioned soul, for liberation. Because every other story is from Bhagavatam, they already describe like we can see the whole way, so we don't know what to do for us. It's the problem. If you're reading like maybe some of stories where like great personality who serves the Lord, they're pure devotees already, or it's very difficult to follow their footsteps, But this story is from beginning, when Chitraketu Maharaja was, he was full with material desire. He has only one desire. He would like to have son, because he was a king, and it's a duty for the king to have a son. to take his kingdom, to give his kingdom, like for the son. I'm very sorry for my English. It's not my native language, so I feel like I speak, like maybe I'm a child, like 8 years old, and because actually, in Russian, I prefer I can write very nicely. I can use language in very poetic way. So for me now, just English, like I again became a child and and try to express my thoughts, my feelings. A little difficult for me. Yeah. So sorry for my mistakes. Yes, and this in this story, we can see how Chitraketu Maharaj, he has only one desire. He would like to have son. He was unable even to hear about anything else. Even when the great sages came for him, he was, they cannot instruct him. Their duty was to instruct him, but he was not ready to hear his instructions. So they just think, okay, we will give you son, but after, but you have to name him Harsha Shoka. Harsha Shoka means, happiness and suffering. Shoka means like suffering, yeah, and Harsha means happiness. So the king was thinking, oh, that's not a problem. Every child is Harsha Shoka. I mean, sometimes children, can be annoying, or they can cry at night, or whenever. Maybe some problems with kids. So he was thinking, oh, that's not a problem. But the sages, they understand, what will happen next, and in such a way, we can see, how Chitraketu Maharaj, he was lamenting. He was in such a condition that he wasn't able to think anything else, but that he lose his son. And again, when the sages come back, this time with Narada Muni. Narada Muni, spiritual master came in our life only when disciples ready. Sometimes, we have this problem that I cannot have direct darshan of my spiritual master. He has thousands of disciples. What to do, But no problem. I mean, there is no any problem with spiritual masters. The only problem is to become a real disciple who are ready to hear instructions, real instructions. So in that case, Narad Muni again, he came with his friend, and he gave this instruction. He gave this mantra for Chitraketu Maharaj. Actually, he arranges, he doesn't instruct it by himself. First, he can take this, soul of this child, and in such a way, King and his wife, they were ready to take these instructions. That was like how we name this interactive way, of preaching. He used some interaction, not personal instructions, but by his son. Yeah. So in this way, Chitraketu Maharaj was purified, and after he was ready to accept this instruction of Narada Muni, and he follows these instructions. He chanted this mantra, and only 1 week. I believe it takes only 1 week. I believe is correct. Yes, he gave direct darshan of Lord Sankarsana. This picture on this? Yes, this is Lord Sankarsana, surrounded by four Kumaras and also Chitraketu Maharaj. And now we're reading from this part when Chitraketu Maharaj he prayed for the Lord. He have direct darshan of the Lord, and now he offer wonderful prayers, and that's the most sweet part of Bhagavatam, these prayers, because sometimes that's a problem. People also think, okay, where is the story? I need to hear some stories. Why is so much of prayers in this Bhagavatam? But that is, that is the only way we can see the heart of pure devotees, by hearing their prayers. So that's wonderful part. And this particular verse is just great for us, just so wonderful. And Srila properties, I don't know, so many important points in this. So let us follow on this. My Lord, it is not impossible for one to be immediately freed from all material contamination by seeing you. Why he's speaking like this? Because now he has direct darshan of the Lord. So he obviously he said, and he started to glorify the Lord. Yes, I see you. So all my material contaminations is just go away. And he glorified Lord in such a way, not to speak of seeing you personally, merely by hearing the holy name of your Lordship only once, even Chandalas, men of the lower class, are freed from all material contamination. So he, yeah, and so this like rhetorical question: who will not be freed from material contamination simply by seeing you? And it's also it reminds me of the verse from the fourth canto of Bhagavatam, very famous verse when Dhruva Maharaja he prays Yantah Pravishya Mamavacham Mam Prasuptam. You remember this? The same, you know, he was a little child. He was unable to pray to pray for the Lord in, you know, in very nice, beautiful way. So the Lord touched him, Dhruva Maharaj, with his conch shell, and after this, you know, he was like purified. And he's speaking about that all my feelings, you know, Yantah Pravishya Mama Vacham Mam Prasuptam Sanjeva Yata Khila Shakti Dharasvadhama. That he was purified. He was able to, you know, to pronounce this wonderful praise for the Lord. So the same, you know, now Chitraketa Maharaj, he's praying about that. I have your darshan. I am purified now. What is speaking to see you only by hearing your name even once, one can be freed from all material contaminations. And Srila in purport, he started with verse from 9:5:16. This is actually the prayers of Durvas Muni. You know the story from 9th canto when Ambarish Maharaj and Durvas Muni. So that particular verse that Prabhupada quotes in this purport is when Durvasa Muni reply for Maharaj Ambarish's prayers. And he also, Durvasa Muni, he glorifies Krishna's holy name. Simply by hearing the holy name of the Lord, one is immediately purified. Therefore, and yes, and Prabhupada say, therefore, in this age of Kali, when all people are very contaminated, by chanting of the holy name of the Lord is recommended as the only means of improvement. And he quotes this wonderful verse from the Hare Nama, Hare Nama. There is no other way. After Srila speaking about very important point, actually. Now, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu introduced this chanting of the holy name 500 years ago, and now through the Krishna consciousness movement, the Hare Krishna movement, we are actually seeing that men who are considered to belong to the lowest class are being delivered from all sinful activities simply by hearing the holy name of the Lord. Srila here in this sentence, he's speaking about you know, that our movement, like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu established this movement 500 years ago, and now we just follow this movement, you know, just one movement. And our Hare Krishna movement, our duty is to give this holy name for other people. Samsara, material existence, is a result of sinful actions. Different grades. After Srila explained how we can stop this samsara by taking shelter in this Hare Krishna movement, in this Sankirtana movement, and started Krishna consciousness life. And we have not so much time, so I just, you know, I do it in a very quick way, but I would like to speak a few words also about last thoughts in this purport. It's very important also, you know, it's very important, please very attentively hear this. Herein it is said, Yannama Sakrit Charavanat. The whole name of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is so powerful that if once heard without offense, it can purify the lowest of men. So, you know, we can think in our mind. Sometimes it's happening actually. You know, why should we perform all this deity worshiping if we can only chant Hare Krishna? So where is the reason? And Srila here describes why we serve the deities. Because the reason is to chant and to hear with like pure name, and offering our service to deities is our way, is a way for us to be purified. It helps actually in our chanting. And first of all, and Srila here described such men. First, he's speaking about purity of how can we chant with purity, and after he described that but they also can be purified simply by hearing the holy name of the Lord, not to speak of personal sin of the Lord. From our present position, the Supreme Personality of God can be personally seen the deity as the deity in the temple. Because we cannot see the Lord. You know, this Chitaketa Maharaja, he has direct darshan of the Lord. He has direct darshan of Lord Sankarsana. But in our condition, even we know that Lord is present everywhere. Sarva Sechaham Hridisa Nivishto Matach Spritirgyanam Apochanam Cha. You know, he's in the heart of every living being. Sarva Sechaham Hridisa Nivishto Matach Spritirgyanam Apochanam Cha. And from his knowledge and ignorance, everything is coming from him. So the Lord in our heart, in my heart, in heart of every devotee, in heart of every living being, actually, but we cannot see him. Like Prahlada Maharaj, when he was asked by Hiranyakashipu, where is your Lord? Where is your Lord? You know, and he's everywhere, even in this pillow. Yes, so he can see. You know, Prahlada Maharaj, he can see the Lord everywhere, but we can't. So the Lord is so merciful. He came in the form of the deity, so we can have his darshan, and it is the same for us. You know, in this age of Kali, Srila is very practical. You know, speaking. So from our present position, Srila mentioned, the Supreme Personality of Godhead can be personally seen as the deity in the temple. The deity of the Lord is not different from the Supreme Lord, because we cannot see the Supreme Lord with our present blunt eyes. The Lord has kindly consented to come before us in a form we can see. Therefore, the deity in the temple should not be considered material. By offering food to the deity and by decorating and serving the deity, one gets the same result that one derives from serving the Lord personally in Vaikuntha. So Srila Prabhupada ended this purport with this wonderful example, how we can have direct darshan of the Lord. All we need just to came for this darshan here, to bring our body to the temple. So I will try to summarize this. This verse, in this verse, Chitaketa Maharaja, he glorifies Krishna's holy names, Krishna's holy name, and in the purport, first part of the purport, Srila Prabhupada quotes a few verses. It also glorifies Krishna, chanting the Krishna holy names. And the main idea is, in this age of Kali, this is the only way for our spiritual. Okay. I can translate. Okay. The only way to be purified is the only way to for our spiritual practice is chanting the Krishna's holy name. And even if you speak in Krishna's holy name, hearing it once, that's enough for you for liberation. Yes. And in the second part of his purport, Srila Prabhupada describes how can we be purified. and how can we actually achieve this pure chanting and hearing the pure names of the Lord by serving deities. So at this point, I would like to ask you, is there any comments or question? Yes, Ashish Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu, for the very nice class. Yeah, and very nice point, especially like sadhaka, when he's ready, the spiritual master is there and he will appear. So very nice. Thank you, Prabhu. Very enlivening. Also, like, yeah, sixth canto is very special, and I heard like devotees, and somewhere it must be mentioned, like the first two cantos are considered like the feet of the Lord, and likewise, actually, the sixth canto is considered the heart of the Lord, and the 10th canto is the beautiful face of the Lord, and furthermore going on. Thank you, Prabhu. Very, very sweet class. Uh, Bro, one thing, so when we go out, distribute, preach, and all, it is normally seen like Krishna consciousness as another form of religion, say, or another sect. This is another faith-based group, another group. And here in like Hare Nameva Kevalam, this is the only way. So how to understand that actually it is non-sectarian? Krishna consciousness is non-sectarian. Because when we go and preach or promote, say it is actually non-sectarian, but it is seen as somewhat sectarian. And also seeing this verse when we say, okay, this is the only way, then it means like, okay, this is another sect who is saying this is the only way.
Actually, in this verse, when we're speaking, there is no other way. Nasteva, Nasteva, Nasteva. 3 times is described Nasteva. Then here 3 times, yeah. So if something's speaking, in Vedas 3 times, that means like, just for sure. But in this verse, Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama, there is no. It's not about just we are the only one who knows this Hare Nama. I mean, Christian persons, they also can chant God's names. Muslims also, they have 99 names of Allah. And and Prabhupada never preached for other religious groups, like, you have to follow our Hare Krishna movement. In this verse, he always speaking about, please chant God's holy name. So it can be any name. If the Christians, they can chant, Yehovah whenever, I don't know. So Muslims also, they can chant their names. That's not a problem. So it's not sectarian at all. But if you don't know God's name, please follow us. Just we know God's name, so please, it's a wonderful name. Krishna means he's all attractive. So it's very actually, it's very important to understand this. Yeah, because like for us, Shripad, he always preached for like Madhya Madhikari. Madhya Madhikari, he's supposed to preach for the people who are in ignorance, who doesn't know anything about Lord, but he doesn't try to change face of other people. If people already have their own face, even Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita this, face is very important, So if some person is already have some face in some tradition, no problem. Please follow this tradition. Just follow this. Just if you're a Christian, please chant God's name. Be vegetarian also, because there is like how not kill. Yeah, they have this. So we can preach it in such a way. Yeah, it's not sectarian at all. Is it answer your question? Hare Krishna. Thank you very much.
One more thing, bro. Like in here, Mahaprabhu introduced the Hare Krishna Mahamantra chanting 500 years ago. Now, uh, like, how do we understand for those souls who were say before 500 years ago, and they were bereft of, say, where they left out, bereft of this Hare Krishna movement, this chanting, and the overall practice of Krishna consciousness, is it?
Sorry, please, I didn't catch your question.
say a bit thinking, Mahaprabhu introduced this the process of Hare Krishna movement, chanting, and overall practice 500 years ago. Now, if someone was say born 600 years ago, 700 years ago, so from the period in between Bhagavad Gita was spoken until say Mahaprabhu's advent, now for them, what would be their like where they missed out of their Krishna consciousness practice altogether?
No, I mean it's when we're speaking about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu introduced Krishna as this, congregation chanting of Krishna name. That doesn't mean that no one knows these mantras before, And of course, people, Vaishnavas especially, they chant in God's names. Maybe mostly like we was like this week we have Harinam tour, 1 week Harinam tour in Barcelona. So every day like 3-4 hours Harinam, very nice experience. And there also was Gaura Purnima, and for Gaura Purnima festival, a lot of Hindu came for the temple, and one of them, he was like, I believe he has a lot of devotion for Lord Narayan, and he was chanting like Narayana, Narayana, Hari, Hari, like this. And with such bhakti, but not Hare Krishna mantra. Yeah. I mean, of course, all these mantras and Krishna's names, they was, people know this, but maybe not chant so much of people of this. It was like some most like exceptions. Because it wasn't so popular, I mean, if we're speaking about sampradaya or disciples, when from master, actually even before, just right now we have this mantra immediately. It's very unusual for Vedic tradition. Before Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that was like, you cannot take if you'd like to receive mantra from your guru. First, you have to become a disciple. So first became a disciple after you receive mantra to chant. The system was working like this, and it's only now we working, we go on outside, we chant Hare Krishna, for everyone can hear it, and so Prabhupada gave this for us, like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave this process for us, so we can be purified even without you can even be liberated without taking shelter of lotus feet of spiritual master. The only way we try to become a disciple, just to chant for not for liberation, but to achieve this Goloka Vrindavan, to achieve to reawake our relationship with the Lord. So yeah, I mean, before the process was working like this, but not so loud, and of course people were worshiping the temples, people were chanting mantras, people tried to meditate, and they follow all this varnashrama system. So in some ways they were purified and they achieved this liberation, but Chaitanya will make it much more very simple, much more very easy. Even it's the mercy of our Guru Parampara. When in Bhaktivinoda Prabhu times, it was very difficult to find Chaitanya Charitamrita. It takes years for him just to find Chaitanya Charitamrita, just to read it. And after he read Chaitanya Charitamrita, first time he was thinking, okay, that's interesting. After he had to read a few times, he realized that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is a great personality, but I have Bhaktivinoda thoughts was like, why is this Chaitanya Mahaprabhu he serve this Krishna, who is dancing with gopis? I mean, it was very difficult for him to realize. After a few times by reading Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishna is Supreme Personality of Godhead. And now we know we came first the thing we know Krishna is a Supreme Personality of Godhead. It's the mercy of our Guru Parampara, actually. Yeah. Okay. Yes. Thank you so much for your attention. Granta Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Jai Gaura Premanande.
His Grace Krishna Kishor Prabhu ki.
Share.